Spirits aren't vending machines where you can put in a generic question and receive proof back. That's not how it works. Most paranormal investigators go in asking the same questions for every investigation.
What is your name? What year is it? How many people are here?
And that's just not going to get you the results you're looking for. As a psychic medium, I'm going to show you how to ask questions that actually get responses and other tips and tricks to make your investigation go much, much better. So let me give you my tips and tricks from the years and years of paranormal investigations that I've done. Now let's get into it. So I did an investigation this past weekend with a celebrity ghost hunter type of group. If you aren't familiar with how those work, usually they'll set it up in groups. So that celebrity ghost hunter stays in one spot and you rotate around. So you get to investigate with them at least one time. So last night I started off in a different room with one of the other guides, and I'm glad I did. She was amazing. So let me tell you what she did right, and then I'll tell you what some of the other people did wrong. Number 1, use validation tools that spirits can interact with. So the woman that I was with, she was awesome. She had equipment set up already in the room for the spirits to interact with. Now, this is key because especially when you have a medium, if the medium is giving you information, you need to be able to confirm in a different way that the information that we're giving you is accurate. So what she had set up was a tripwire light string. So it was on the floor, and I'll put a picture up here of what that looks like, but it's a grouping of lights in a line. And so we do things like ask the spirit to jump over it, interact with it. She then also had 3 K2 meters. One of them was on top of a coin that said yes, and one of them was on top of a coin that said no. That way she could say to the spirit, if it's yes, make this one light up. If it's no, make this one light up. Then she had another one in the corner of the room in case anything happened over there, because it was next to a door where sometimes the handle would get jiggled. So she put it over there to see if it would set that off. And then she was using an app on her phone. So all of those things, those are things that you want to do. You want to have ways for the spirit to interact and confirm whatever you're asking, whatever you're getting, whatever you think. Now, in some of the other groups, when I switched, there was nothing set up. And so it's just kind of asking questions into the void. If you have nothing set up in the room for spirit to interact with, just think about it. How is the spirit going to communicate with you? And yes, we're doing recordings and we're doing videos, and then we can go back and listen to the EVPs later. But isn't it better? Wouldn't it be better to know? It's just like a medium. When we are reading for someone, we'll get information, we'll give it to the sitter, and we'll say, does that make sense to you? Or something of that nature. And so if the person says yes, then we know we keep going down that path. And then the connection gets stronger the more hits you have, right? So it's the same way when you're doing a paranormal investigation. If you're asking the spirit something and you want them to tell you yes or no, because then you know which way to keep going. If you're going down a wrong path, I can tell you from experience, the spirit's going to get frustrated and leave, or give up, or get mad.
Is there anyone here who wishes to speak?
So you want to have something that they can interact with. Now, the second part to that is that you want to be clear in what you're asking the spirit to do. Like her example, that was perfect. She had a coin that said yes and a coin that said no. And so she would say, light this one up for this, light this one up for this. That's very clear. There's no ambiguity there. There's no room for like, well, I don't know if I was supposed to light this up or light that up. I don't know what that meant. The spirit lit this up. Did that mean this? So that's perfect. The tripwire, you can just, like what she did was just ask them to light that up at certain times. And we also used it kind of as confirmation. So if we said something and they lit it up, it was kind of like, okay, keep going that way. That's another way you can use it. So that was just perfect. There's plenty of other things you can do. There are lights that you can put up so you can see if a shadow goes by. There's all sorts of things. I'm not here to go into equipment. I'm here to tell you about, from a medium's perspective, what are the best practices, basically. Number 2, ask the right questions. Don't ask the same freaking questions that everyone else asks. Now, look, you can have baseline questions that you ask each time for scientific purposes, like we ask these same things every time, right? But just know that for most spirits, that's not where you're going to get the great responses. You may get responses, but probably not. And here's why. So when there's a haunted location and people go in and investigate, they go in and ask the same questions every time. So imagine if you are that spirit and every time someone new comes in, they're like, "What is your name? What year is it? Who's the president?" You're like, "So I'm stuck here and what I'm going to be asked every time is the same thing over and over." Like, do you guys have anything else to talk about? This is more torturous than being stuck here. Because again, the spirits, if there's a spirit in a location like that, like a haunted location, they're stuck there. So 98% of the time, that spirit is not visiting from the other side to answer your questions. That spirit is stuck there. So imagine being stuck somewhere and then you just keep having the same conversation over and over. And I think that's what people don't understand. These spirits were us. They were humans that died. And one thing is that when you die, you don't automatically switch into some other thing, except for you don't have a body. But like, you don't automatically know everything. Your personality doesn't automatically change. You don't automatically become enlightened. Don't get it twisted and feel like I'm judging you or I'm saying it's horrible and you're a horrible person or it's completely wrong and any of that. I understand, because if you aren't a medium, all you have to go is off information. So if they have information historically about that place and the people there, I totally understand. So the historical information they had for this place was that one of the spirits that was usually in the room that we were in was an enslaved woman who used to cook for everyone. And they had information that she cooked with grains and corn a lot. At least, I don't know if her specifically, but that time period. They were asking things like, did you cook here? Did you use grains and corn to cook? And again, I understand why, because they confirmed that's probably a fact, right? The spirit was saying like, I hated cooking and I'm so tired of people asking me about what I did for everyone else. I was enslaved. I don't want to talk about what I did for everyone else because I was forced to do it and I didn't like it. I didn't want to cook for people, but I didn't have a choice. And so at the end of it, I said to them, hey, for your next session, I can probably help you get better responses. So when I told them, hey, this is what she said to me, the other one asked, well, what should we ask? And I was like, that's a great question. Hold on, let me ask her. So it was basically, the answer was, ask me things about me. What do I like to do? What do I like? What do I think about the other people here? Because there was some spirits there that she liked, some spirits there she didn't like, some people from her time period, etc. So if you think about it this way, we're asking her about grains and corn. Like, unless she was just in love with cooking and grains and corn, like, why is she going to sit here and answer all these questions about it? But if you ask her, hey, the caretaker who was here and is still there, how do you feel about him? Think about it this way. If you were interviewing a famous person, and this is a great analogy to just think of when you're doing an investigation, treat it like you're interviewing a celebrity. Are you going to go in and ask them the same thing that everyone else? What's your favorite color? What's your favorite food? No, because you're just going to get a boring answer that people have already heard. What do interviewers do when they have someone like a celebrity? They ask them questions that will catch them off guard or are emotionally charged. What is an emotionally charged question for a spirit? How did your caretaker treat you? Because it probably wasn't good. I mean, it might be good. And if it's good, that's going to be emotional too. Like, oh my gosh, he was so nice to me. Probably not, but he was so nice to me. Or tell me about this place had children. Tell me about the children. Who are they to you? Did you like hanging out with the children? Did you play with the children? Something that's not boring, something about them and how they feel, what they did from day to day, not what they were forced to do as an enslaved person, but like, did they like to play with dolls? Did they like to go watch the sun come up? Did they have a favorite animal that made life a little bit easier for them? Okay, so things like that. So let's get to the next topic, which is number 3. Do not dismiss information that someone receives or that spirit gives you. Okay, so the other thing that I saw last night, and I see it all the time. So they had the historian, I just call her the historian lady. I don't know what she's called. She's with one of the groups, but she used to work there at the plantation. So they had in each group one person who knew facts about the location. And when I say facts, I mean things they could verify, like the people that live there's name, their relation to each other, things they actually did that were documented. Okay. And so what was happening in one of the sessions was we would say something and then the historian would be like, no, that's not how it happened, or that didn't happen, or that's not right. When you do that, you are literally cutting off the communication channel. You don't have to say that's wrong. You can just say, okay. You do not have to dismiss it and poo-poo it, okay? Don't, because she literally halted all communication, and the rest of the session, the spirits were gone. Not only did the spirits leave, but I just was like, I'm done. I'm done with the session. I can't do this. It was really bad. You can be skeptical 1,000%. I'm skeptical and I'm a medium. And what I mean by that is I don't assume that everything is paranormal. You can be skeptical and you can say, I'll have to check on that instead of, nope, that didn't happen. Because let me tell you this, good things and bad things aren't documented. Every second of our life is not documented. Even us with social media in this day and age, not everything is documented. So imagine back then where there was almost no documentation, or the documentation has been ruined in fires and floods and all sorts of stuff. We only probably have like 5%, if that, documentation of what actually happened in these places. Then you talk about enslaved and how they were treated less than human. They're not going to document that either. And I can tell you from talking to spirits, a lot of horrible stuff happened. And this past weekend at the plantation, I had a great example of that. There was a woman who told me that she was coaxed into a room under false pretenses. And I didn't get the specifics, but it felt like somebody said, let's go in here and read this, or look at this book, or look at this painting, something like that. And then she was assaulted. And you know which assault I'm talking about. And then other people came in to assault her as well. It's not like they were going to write about that. They're going to write like, hey, I assaulted this lady and so did my 13 friends. No. So don't dismiss what spirits are saying or what mediums are saying because you don't believe in mediums or you can't prove that what the medium's saying is true. You might be able to. So just take it down, note it, and say, this is what the medium said. And then see if you can validate it later. See if there's pieces of information like, oh crap, the 3 names they gave were correct. The ages of those people were correct. So maybe there's some truth here somewhere. Again, we're not 100% accurate. None of us are. But don't dismiss what we're getting. When you dismiss what we're getting, you're also dismissing that spirit. And that spirit then doesn't want to tell you anything else. It doesn't want to show up for you. It doesn't want to play with your lights, any of that. That was the other session with that historian that got 0 information. So if you want to receive information from spirits and have a good investigation, do not dismiss and do not call the spirits a liar. Do not call the medium a liar. You can think whatever you think in your brain, but it's super disrespectful and non-productive to do so. Okay? Number 4, be respectful. The next topic is watch how you speak to them and how you speak about them. So there's 2 parts to this. The first part is this. In general, remember, these spirits were humans. Those humans were someone's relatives, someone's loved one, someone's mother, father, grandma, son, friend, cousin, all of the things. They were someone to someone, okay? They were human. So when you're interacting with spirits, think about it this way. How would you want someone to talk to your mom or your loved one, whoever your favorite loved one is in your life? How would you want someone else, a stranger, to speak to them? That's how you should speak to spirits, period. The example I have from this weekend is, again, so it was a plantation. They had enslaved people. They probably treated them not so great. So the historian person that was there, when I got a name, I asked her, does that name, like, do you know that name? Do you know if the enslaved woman's name was this? And she said, no, they didn't have names. They were slaves. I get what she was attempting to say, but you have to be very careful with what you're saying. The spirit was not happy, and that also ended the session. That was it. That spirit was done talking, basically gave a big F you to the entire room and said, I'm out of here. Why wouldn't she? You just said she doesn't matter. She doesn't have a name. She doesn't matter. Okay? So just think about like who you're speaking with and how you should speak of them, because like this woman went through horrible, horrible things and they haven't been resolved. Again, when we die, we don't just automatically heal our shit. Okay? We don't heal our stuff. So she's still in pain. She's still reliving the experiences. Someone asked, do you like to sit here and watch the boats because it was on the water? She said, no, when I see a boat, it means more of them are coming to assault her, basically. Imagine you're stuck here just feeling that way forever. So please just have compassion. Ask them, is there anything I can do to help you? You may not be able to help them, but just asking them and opening that door might be helping them just doing that. And you can always call in angels or whoever, whatever, creator, etc., that you believe in, and ask them to help them cross over. And last, number 5, but definitely not least, is give the spirit time to answer the questions and tag any noises that you make during that period. So what I see all the time, and I saw it some of this weekend, is they'll ask a question and then 2 seconds later ask another question. Or they'll move around and make a noise with the chair, like squeaking or what have you, that even if the spirit answered audibly, you're not going to hear it because all you hear is the chair squeaking. So just give the spirit time to answer between them. The other thing you want to do is to tag, if you will, any noises like that, like a chair squeaking.
That was Jason coughing.
So if you're doing the investigation and you're recording it with audio or video, which obviously you probably are, say, that was my chair. Or like yesterday, somebody was like, did you hear that? And it was literally someone's stomach growling. No one spoke up. So I finally was like, I think that was someone's stomach growling. Just say, that was my stomach. Just shout it out out loud so that on the audio, when you're listening back, because you have hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of footage, you're not going to remember, oh yeah, that was the time when my chair squeaked. You're going to be like, oh, what was that? No, it was not paranormal. It was your chair. The other part to this is don't whisper. And I'm guilty of doing this sometimes myself. So if you whisper, say, that was me whispering out loud. But if you whisper, it definitely can sound like spirit saying something on the recording. So just try your best to not whisper. And if you do, make sure you tag it out loud. The last thing is, don't just assume that every noise or what have you is paranormal. I was really surprised this past weekend because most of these people are super analytical, that we were in the basement and, well, let me back up. So when I was upstairs in the library, I could hear noises and somebody was like, what was that? I, having done this a million times, could tell that that was noise contamination from the basement probably, because that basement was over there and it just sounded like people talking in a way that it was human live people talking and it was the investigators talking. I just knew that it was not spirit. It was the people downstairs talking. And so I said, I think that's the people downstairs talking. Now, what you can do and what they did sometimes was they would get on the radio and say, hey, are you guys talking? Or did you just say this? Or if we heard a tap, they would say, hey, did you just tap your feet? Or like it sounded like little kids were running. Hey, were you guys just moving around? And sometimes we were not. So that was interesting. But you have to do that in the moment so that you don't get like false evidence later. Because again, you have hours and hours. You're not going to remember what was going on. But it was really weird that in the basement, they were like, hey, did you hear that? And so I was like, can we just close that door to that room so that we don't hear that? That way it just rules out any noise coming from over there. To me, it's just, even though I'm a medium, I try to debunk stuff before I say it's paranormal. If you hear a physical noise like a knock, could be a pipe, could be somebody moved funny in their chair, could be the people upstairs, downstairs, who knows what. But again, don't just assume. Another example from this weekend is the door handle, the doorknob jiggling. They said that the doorknob jiggles all the time. That's one of the things that people experience all the time. Later, the door handle started jiggling, and then someone started coming up the stairs from the basement, which was near that door. And I was like, oh, that's why the door handle is jiggling, because of the movement on the stairs. So again, that's something that can be debunked, and it'd be super easy to debunk it. Just, I understand we all want things to be paranormal, but let's not make them paranormal if they're not. So to recap the top 5 tips. So number 1, use validation tools that the spirits can interact with. So K2 meters, light grids, light strips, balls that light up that you roll on the floor, things like that, where they can manipulate it. Number 2, ask the right questions. Don't ask the same old tired questions. Ask more specific things related to them or things outside of the box. Number 3, don't dismiss the information the spirit is giving you or a medium is giving you. That's the quickest way to cut off communication with the spirit and or for them to leave. Number 4, be respectful. Remember that this is technically still somebody's mother, father, brother, sister, cousin, aunt, friend, whatever. It's a human that has passed and is someone's loved one. Treat them accordingly. Treat them how you would want your loved one to be treated. Number 5, give the spirit time to answer your question. And then if there's any noises, especially during that time, tag them out loud so that later when you're listening to it or watching the evidence, you know that that is something made by a person, a living person, and not a paranormal noise. Hopefully this helped you and opened your mind, and hopefully in your next investigation, you'll implement some of these and you'll get even better results, because that's what we want, right? Is results. We want evidence that the paranormal is real. I love this stuff. So thank you for watching. Make sure that you're subscribed or follow. Happy haunting.